Got those last 4 bones in. These 2 on either side. As you can see, it's taking shape. It has a shape now. Now you're going to find out how we deal with a different stretch on different pieces of material. Even the same fabric, one side to the other, even the measured seams will end up with little offsets like that, depending on the direction of the stitching, whether it's going from top to bottom, which piece is on top, which one's getting stretched more or less. I try to make sure, when I'm doing this, that there's more stretch on the shell than there is on the liner. And as you can see, I didn't do a perfect job of stitching that seam there around the boning, but the channel exists, the boning is in, it's good and solid. Nice spring steel boning. Now I'm going to flip this over so you can see the back and the liner and the edge along the bottom. There we are. As you can see, there's a lot more difference on the bottom edge of the liner than there is to the shell. Now that's going to be fixed. We're going to take over on a serger, cut off those excess and line everything up. I'll draw a line, point to point to point, which we're going to follow with the serger, cut all that excess off. You can see I made sure the bottom of the boning is at least an inch. See, 1.5 fingers is an inch. 1.5 fingers, that's about an inch. 3 fingers is 2 inches. You always have a way of measuring. Just as a point of note, you always have a way to measure. We're going to do that on both sides. Then we're going to line them up next to each other, one on top of the other, and see if there's anywhere else we need to trim to make the bottom edge the same from one side to the other. After that's done, we put a binding on it. Use 2-sided bias tape or double fold bias tape, either 1/2 inch or 5/8, depending on what we have. I think I got 5/8, I think I got 3/4. I'll use what I got. But next step is going to be on the serger. So I'm going to have to uncover the serger and have to move that giant roll of fucking fabric. But once that's done, then we'll move on to the next step. Stick it down here. Make sure you can see everything as well as possible without getting in the way of actually doing the work. Yeah, kind of centered. Yeah, you're kind of centered. Good enough. So, Jesus. Tangled up thread was never a problem. Didn't happen until I had cats. So, as you see, I drew that chalk line along where I need to cut to match everything up. So we're going to do that. Start at the bottom edge, bottom of the back right here. Work along and keep everything tight. Here we are. The next one. Tie them all in together, so it's one even end to the whole bottom edge of the garment. right down to that corner. It's all tied in together now, so there's no openings, no more pockets. There we are. There's one. Do the other one exactly the same. And line them up and see how well they match. They might not. Okay. Now once that's all lined up, and we can see the difference, I'll show you. So, we've got the bottom edges lined up here next to each other. From this side, it looks good. Now we'll flip it over and show the other side and see how that looks. Line them up exactly the same way. Lining up the bottom of the boning. The bottom. There. I'm lining up the bottoms of the boning because the boning is all the same length from one side to the other. So that lines up. That one lines up. That one lines up. That one lines up. This one lines up, and they are all within about 1/8 of an inch. There is a little, it's about 1/8 of an inch curve out there. Not quite, well, more than 1/8, less than 1/4. Because the width of that surge is 1/4. So we know it's less than 1/4, but I think it's slightly more than 1/8. But that's just this, 3-4 inch little strip here. I'm not going to worry about that. Binding will cover it. Everything else lines up, point to point, line to line, exactly where it's supposed to be. See? All those curves, everything lines up. So now I can get the binding, the double fold bias tape, to be specific, but that's the binding I use on the bottom edge of these things. So I'll get that out, find out what I got on hand, if I need more, if I have to go buy some, and the next step I'll be putting that on. Okay.